as a distant European problem. Countries surrounding Japan continue opaque military buildup, and the regional military balance has been greatly and rapidly evolving.
舞台は世界の国防トップが集まるミュンヘン安全保障会議。高市内閣の防衛大臣として単身乗り込んだ小泉進次郎氏が流暢な英語で世界のリーダーたちに日本の覚悟を突きつけました。圧倒的な発信力で中国、ロシアに対する強烈な牽制球を投げ込んだ歴史的瞬間、海外メディアもどよめいた堂々たる外交レビューの全貌をお届けします。
Hi everybody. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shinjiro Koizumi, Minister of Defense of Japan. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude for the invitation to the Munich Security Conference, which is one of the most prestigious and influential platforms for international security. In Japan, as you said, election was held on Sunday, which turned out to be a historic victory for our ruling party. Even during the two-week election campaign period, Japan-UK summit meeting was held in Japan, where both leaders concurred that the security of the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic is inseparable. On a personal note, this is my first time participating in Munich Security Conference. I was born and raised in Yokosuka, a town that embodies the indivisible nature of the Indo-Pacific and Euro-Atlantic security. Indeed, it was in Yokosuka last year where President Trump and Prime Minister Takaichi stood together aboard a U.S. aircraft carrier to address the world. In addition, ships of like-minded countries in Europe have frequently visited Yokosuka, including Germany, France, Netherlands, Spain, and Norway. Recently, from August to September last year, the UK carrier strike group led by HMS Prince of Wales also made a port call. As a native of Yokosuka, my presence here at the Munich Security Conference to deliver a speech as Minister of Defense is a testament to the fact that the security of both regions is inseparable. I would like to once again express my gratitude to everyone involved in the MSC for the precious opportunity. Today, I would like to focus on 3 points. First, Japan's initiatives in security policy. Second, our security concerns and Japan's fundamental stance. And third, further strengthening of cooperation with ally and like-minded countries. First, Japan's efforts in security policy. The rule of law, freedom of navigation, respect for sovereignty. Over the 80 years since the Second World War, the very foundations that have underpinned the international order are being tested by real-world actions. This is the situation we are now facing. Russia's aggression against Ukraine in 2022 demonstrated that the crisis in one region is directly linked to global security. In other words, as I mentioned earlier, the crucial point here is that the security of the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic is indivisible. Attempts to unilaterally change the status quo by force must never be tolerated. That is why Japan does not view Ukraine as a distant European problem. Countries surrounding Japan continue opaque military buildup, and the regional military balance has been greatly and rapidly evolving. In the East and the South China Seas, attempts to change the status quo by force persist. In the Western and the Southern Pacific, provocative military activities are intensifying. Based on this recognition, the Takaichi administration is squarely addressing measures to ensure the security of our country. First and foremost, Japan itself will become stronger. We are committed to sustaining our efforts to fundamentally reinforce our defense capabilities and increase our defense spending. With last year's supplementary budget, we achieved a level of defense spending at 2% of GDP ahead of the schedule. Immediately after taking office last October, Prime Minister Takaichi directed an accelerated revision of Japan's national security strategy. Under her leadership, we will revise it within this year. We will also continue to respond to any crisis in a resolute and composed manner. In doing so, strengthening the defense production and technological base, which we deem as defense capability itself, is also indispensable. We need to work closely with industry and across the government to establish resilient supply chains, flexible production systems, and incorporate advanced civilian technologies. The use of outer space is the very foundation of our modern lives. The MOD is rapidly strengthening our defense capabilities in the space domain. In fiscal year 2026, Japan will rename our Air Self-Defense Force to Japan Aerospace Self-Defense Force. Second, our security concerns and Japan's fundamental stance. Today, the Indo-Pacific region faces a crisis. One of them is the weaponization of everything. The weaponization of economy, technology, resources, information, and cyberspace. The boundary between peacetime and contingency, between military and non-military, between truth and fake news, these are no longer clearly visible. We are living in an era of uncertainty, where anything can happen. The intentions of aggressors can hardly be predicted by those of us living in democracy. Aggressors may also misjudge the strength of our resolve. Anything could happen tomorrow. I believe you share this sense of crisis. We must confront this reality head-on and ensure peace and stability in the region. Let me be clear. Japan keeps the door to dialogue open at all times, even when fundamental differences in stance exist. Indeed, precisely because of these differences, we maintain close communication and mutual exchanges. Together with like-minded partners, Japan will fulfill its responsibilities to maintain an international order free from aggression. Japan seeks to be a partner that contributes to the peace and the stability of the international community through security cooperation, one that spans the entire globe. Third, further strengthening of cooperation with our ally and like-minded countries. First, we will further strengthen the Japan-US alliance. Last month, I visited Washington, D.C. to hold a Japan-US Defense Ministerial meeting, the fourth meeting with Secretary Hegseth in the short period of time since my appointment. We confirmed that the Japan-US alliance remains unwavering and that both countries are working in lockstep. The Japan-US alliance has evolved to contribute to stabilizing the global security environment. For example, even at US AFRICOM here in Germany, a self-defense forces personnel is dispatched to facilitate coordination between the US forces and the Japan self-defense forces. Next, we will spread a multi-layered network of interconnectivity across the entire world, starting from the Indo-Pacific with the partners of the Indo-Pacific and all the like-minded nations, including our partners here in Europe as well. We will enhance connectivity and generate synergies not only in training and operations, but also across equipment and industrial bases. Just last month, the annual Japanese paratroopers exercise, New Year's Jump, hosted by Ground Self-Defense Force, had included 14 nations of ally and like-minded countries. In addition to strengthening relations with ally and like-minded countries, Japan-NATO relationship is making steady progress as demonstrated by the deepening engagement of the IP4, Japan, ROK, Australia, and New Zealand, through invitations to NATO Defense Ministerial meeting. My personal relationship with Secretary General Rutte, with whom I met today, is also unprecedented, having met for 3 months in a row since December of last year. We will continue to closely cooperate with each other as the security of the Euro-Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific is inseparable. Our cooperation is also moving beyond into the realm of actual operations. I'd like to highlight an example of our joint response to global challenges. Last November, when pirates boarded a private tanker off the coast of Somalia, Japanese Self-Defense Forces Force P3C rushed to the scene. Based on from the intelligence provided by the SDF, the maritime forces of the EU and others safely rescued the crew, and the hijacking attempt was thwarted. In terms of defense equipment cooperation, the next generation fighter is being developed through a partnership between Japan, UK, and Italy. This global combat air program is designed by its very nature with our ally and like-minded countries in mind. As the name global suggests, it reflects our commitment to future interoperability with partners across the globe, including here in Europe. Against this backdrop, the Japanese government is currently working on the review of so-called 5 categories rule in the transfer of defense equipment with a view to expanding its scope. In 2007, Japan's then Prime Minister Abe delivered a speech titled Confluence of the Two Seas in the Indian Parliament. In the speech, he declared that the Pacific and the Indian Ocean are now bringing about a dynamic coupling as seas of freedom and prosperity. Today, these two seas have expanded to 3, the Pacific, the Indian, and the Atlantic Oceans. Dear friends, as the Munich Rule outlines, let us strive to engage and interact between Japan and Europe. Thank you very much for your kind attention.